Hello lovelies. Welcome to Emma's Tales. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Also, share this video with your loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you. As you do so, sit back and relax as we dive into this story. The room smelled like vanilla almond frosting and hope. Nadine Amadi, 30, event planner by day, hopeless romantic by night, leaned over the tasting table, giggling as Chef Morales set down the final cake sample. Her two best friends, Kimora and Teo, were already arguing over which flavor would make guests cry happy tears. Light spilt in from the hotel's ballroom windows, catching on tiny particles of sugar dust floating between them like confetti that hadn't learned patience. Everything felt filmed in soft focus. 1 week to the wedding. A lifetime of fairy tale build-up. Nadine's phone buzzed against her water glass. She expected another text from Eli. Miss you already. Dinner at 7? Probably with a picture of his crooked smile that always looked like a secret invitation. She smiled, wiped frosting from her fingertip, and glanced at the screen. A single gray bubble stared back. I can't do this. I'm sorry. 5 words. No punctuation beyond the period that felt like a gunshot. No emojis. No follow-up dots flashing, promising more. Just ice-cold finality. Her heartbeat slowed, then hammered. She read it again. And again. Her fingers pinched the phone so hard the screen dimmed beneath the pressure. Teo noticed first. Dean. You good? Nadine couldn't find her voice. The room swam. The vanilla scent curdled in her nose. She placed the fork down, too gently, like she might shatter the world with one wrong move, and stumbled back from the table. Kimora's laugh died mid-sentence. Talk to me. Nadine shook her head, the words sticking to her lungs. She pressed call. 1 ring. Voicemail. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. Chef Morales asked something about fondant. Teo answered for her while Nadine walked toward the ballroom doors, cake crumbs falling from her skirt like evidence of innocence lost. The hallway outside felt colder, harsher, a corridor built for exit wounds. She pressed call a 3rd time. Nothing. Answer me, Eli. She texted instead. What's going on? Please call me. 3 little dots never appeared. The silence weighed more than marble. Nadine's mother, called out as she burst outside. How's the tasting? I'm prepping centerpieces and... Mom. Her voice cracked. He ended it. A beat of stunned silence. Then, that's ridiculous. Did you misread? Nadine's laugh sounded like glass splitting. I read it 5 times. Where are you? I'm coming. Nadine wanted to say, bring glue for my heart, but instead whispered, outside the ballroom. The phone slipped from her hand to the pavement like a dropped candle. She wrapped her arms around herself and stared at the city skyline that once promised a future and now looked like a jagged cardiogram. That evening, shadows stretched long across her apartment walls. The wedding binder, thick with invoices, fabric swatches, and monogrammed mock-ups, sat open on the coffee table, taunting her with its optimism. Nadine reread Eli's message until the characters blurred into static. She called the hotel's 24-hour desk. Hypothetically, she asked, voice shaking, if a wedding is cancelled a week out, can the client get a refund? The clerk sighed, reciting policy. Contracts signed within 30 days are non-refundable, ma'am. I'm sorry. Right. No, that's okay. Thank you. She hung up, staring at the ceiling like maybe destiny was hiding in the popcorn texture. She flipped through her binder. Each vendor name felt like an accusation. You believed in happily ever after. Cake, paid. Florals, paid. String quartet, paid. 80 guests had bought flights. Her inbox chimed with subject lines like so excited for next weekend. Each exclamation mark a dagger. Nadine reached instinctively for her engagement ring but found only bare skin. She sank to the floor beside the coffee table. The city hummed outside, oblivious. Tears hovered but refused release. Instead, numbness settled over her shoulders like a winter coat. She whispered into the empty room, "I have to do something. Anything." Midnight. Her apartment glowed blue from the TV she wasn't watching. Kimura sat cross-legged on the rug, scrolling through her phone, rage simmering behind her eyes. "He blocked you everywhere," she said. "Even on LinkedIn." "Who blocks on LinkedIn?" "Someone thorough," Nadine murmured. Kimura slammed the phone down. "Let's drag him on social media." "No," Nadine's voice, surprisingly calm. "Then I'm just the jilted bride meme. I won't give him that." Silence. The only light came from the street lamp slicing across the window, illuminating the untouched stack of wedding invitations on the coffee table. Creamy cardstock with gold foil edges, entwined initials N+E mocking her. Kimura broke the silence. "What now?" Nadine's gaze drifted to her binder, to the highlighted balance due. 6,800,000 Nigerian nairas, paid in full. Suddenly, a spark flickered behind her eyes. Not hope. Not yet. Something fiercer. "The hotel won't refund," she said slowly. "So I'm still hosting something." Kimura frowned. "A wedding without a groom?" "No," Nadine stood, footsteps purposeful for the first time in 12 hours. She opened her wardrobe, digging until she pulled out a sleek black cocktail dress. She laid it across the couch like a dare. "I'm hosting a funeral," she whispered, breath quickening. "A funeral for the relationship." Kimura's mouth fell open, then curved into a grin equal parts concern and admiration. "Girl, that's insane." "I paid for insane," Nadine said, a glint in her eyes. "I might as well get my money's worth." From somewhere deep inside the numbness, anger bloomed. Hot, electric, alive. For the first time since the message, Nadine felt her heartbeat steady into decision. She grabbed her laptop, opened a blank invitation template, and typed, "You are cordially invited to the wake of a late relationship. Black attire required. Tears optional. Venue, Azalea Grand Ballroom. Date, this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eulogies encouraged." Kimura read over her shoulder. "Are you sure?" Nadine's fingers paused above the keyboard. The hurt still lurked, a bruise the color of midnight, but under it pulsed something sharper. Control. "I'm done being the girl who got left," she said. "I'll be the woman who buried what hurt her." She hit send to all 80 guests. "Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button." Outside, the city lights flickered like witnesses. Inside, Nadine smiled, for the first time since 5 words blew her world apart, and whispered to the darkness, "Rest in peace, us." A new beginning had issued its first heartbeat, thumping steadily beneath grief's closing door. Morning found Nadine awake before the birds, staring at the ceiling like it owed her answers. The digital clock glowed 5:17 a.m. She hadn't slept so much as drifted in and out of half-dreams where Eli kept shrugging while she begged for explanations. By 6 a.m., she was on her feet, hair in an angry bun, coffee brewed too strong. Kimura arrived 10 minutes later, still in pajamas and a trench coat, because best friends make fashion sacrifices for emotional emergencies. "Ready?" Kimura asked, handing over a banana that Nadine would forget to eat. "As I'll ever be," Nadine muttered, shoving the hotel contract into her tote like a police file. They drove through grey dawn, windshield wipers batting drizzle aside. The city looked disinterested in Heartbreak. Buses ran, vendors set up stalls, teenagers laughed on their way to school. Nadine pressed her forehead to the cool glass, thinking how unfair it was that the world continued to spin when hers had derailed. At the hotel's reception, Nadine signed paperwork renaming the booking Celebration of Closure. She requested use of the projector, the podium, and, oddest of all, a coffin on loan from a local theater company the hotel often partnered with for prop rentals. "Will that be delivered through the service entrance?" Mrs. Adeyemi asked, pen hovering. "Yes," Nadine said. We wouldn't want guests bumping into it in the lobby. Kimura elbowed her. Theater department students will weep with pride. Paperwork finished, they returned to the car. Rain had stopped. The sun broke through clouds like approval. Inside the vehicle, Nadine finally exhaled. I don't know what just happened. Kimura laughed, tears in her eyes. You happened. And it was glorious. Yaramodi, Nadine's mother, called at noon, voice tight. Your aunt heard rumors. You cancelled the wedding. Nadine sat at her kitchen table surrounded by invitation mock-ups and half-eaten toast. Eli cancelled it, Mom. Silence. Then, people will talk. Let them. You can't just do nothing, Ya snapped, terror cloaked in anger. I'm not doing nothing. Nadine sipped cold coffee. I'm holding a funeral. For what? For the relationship, Nadine said, relishing the forbidden phrase. Her mother gasped like she'd swallowed a wasp. A funeral? People will think that I'm handling it. For once, I don't care how it looks. The line crackled. You're making a spectacle. Nadine rubbed her temples. A spectacle was paid for, Mom. I'm repurposing it. A sigh full of decades-old expectations drifted through the phone. I just wanted you to be happy. So did I. Nadine's voice softened. But happiness left the building. I can at least make meaning out of the lease. Over the next 3 days, preparations moved with terrifying momentum. Nadine discovered that Heartbreak, when given a to-do list, worked like rocket fuel. Day 1, she rented 40 candelabras, ordered bulk black roses, and borrowed a fog machine from a DJ friend. She took her ivory seating chart and spray-painted it matte black, leaving only guest names shimmering in gold Sharpie. Day 2, she scoured thrift stores for vintage picture frames and printed photos of her and Eli. Vacations, birthdays, goofy selfies, then burned the edges with a lighter until they looked like relics salvaged from a fire. Each frame received a black ribbon bow and a date range. Love born 2018. Love died 2025. At night she rehearsed her eulogy into the bathroom mirror. The first draft was too angry, the second too sad. By 3 a.m. she struck an uneasy balance, satire with a heartbeat. Day 3. Dress hunting. Bridal shops eyed her warily when she asked for gowns in black. Finally, a student designer delivered salvation. A satin mermaid dress the color of midnight with beaded lace sleeves. Nadine twirled before the mirror. In low light, the beads glimmered like tiny constellations. A universe, she thought, born from a collapse. She paid in cash, leaving the seamstress whispering, "May your next love be bold and true." Invitations spread faster than the flu season. Group chats erupted. Is this real? Only Nadine could turn a catastrophe into couture. Eli's silence is louder than any apology. Some guests RSVP'd yes out of genuine support. Others, out of morbid curiosity. An ex-boyfriend replied, "I'll be there in spirit," which Kimura screenshot and posted with the caption, "Bro, she's got enough ghosts already." Nadine ignored gossip. Each RSVP was another nail securing the closure's coffin lid. The viral tremor reached even Rachel, the rumored co-worker. She DM'd Nadine, "I'm sorry for what happened. If you ever want the truth." Nadine left the message unread. Truth hand-delivered by Betrayal was still betrayal. On Friday evening, Nadine's father, Chief Amodi, knocked on her door. A man of few words, he carried 2 things, a box of old family photos and her late grandfather's dark wood walking cane. "I heard you're holding a wake," he said, setting the box on her dining table. "Yes." Nadine braced herself. He opened the cane's handle, revealing a slim interior compartment. Inside lay a folded strip of paper, her grandfather's funeral poem. He slid it to her. He wrote this when he buried his best friend. Said farewell should be honest, or it becomes a ghost. Nadine unfurled the fragile paper. Ink strokes curved like careful footsteps. She read the first lines aloud, throat thick. "We gather not to bury the man alone. But the stories we told ourselves about him. Tears filled her eyes for the first time since Eli's message. She looked at her father, who simply nodded. "I'll be there," he said. Black suit, black tie. She reached across the table, grasping his hand. Courage sometimes looked like an old poem and a silent man's support. Saturday morning, the theater company delivered a polished pine coffin, lid fixed permanently ajar for stage visibility. Workers wheeled it across the lobby while tourists gasped and took pictures. Nadine followed, clipboard in hand, giving directions like a general in stiletto boots. She positioned the coffin at the foot of the dance floor, filled it with photocopies of text messages Eli had never answered, topped by a single wilted lily. The fog machine tested at half power sent wisps curling around the casket, soft as regrets. Kimura supervised lighting, setting dim amber washes and candle effect bulbs flickering along table edges. "We need mood," she said, "but also safety codes." They printed 40 eulogy pamphlets featuring a caricature of a broken heart in a tuxedo, eyes X'd out cartoon style. Inside, the service order. Processional, adagio for strings, because melodrama is healing. Opening remarks. "We're gathered here today." Eulogies from friends and family. Moment of loud silence, guests encouraged to scream internally. Recessional, Aretha Franklin's RESPECT. Nadine tucked the pamphlets into silver baskets at each table setting. She stepped back, surveying the room. Once, she'd pictured fairy lights and soft jazz. Now the ballroom looked like Tim Burton crashed a bridal expo. And it was perfect. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. At 4 o'clock, she went home to dress. Holding the black gown against her skin, she realized grief had taken on a new shape. It fit differently now, like a garment she'd grown into. 6:02 p.m. The first guests trickled in, cloaked in black. A distant aunt wore a fascinator shaped like a raven. 2 college friends arrived with dark lipstick and half-nervous grins. They signed a guest book titled Condolences for Love Lost. Music played softly, a string quartet cover of Nothing Compares to You. Waiters served champagne tinted with black food coloring so it shimmered like obsidian. Some guests exchanged awkward hugs. Others snapped selfies beneath a banner that read "Here lies what was never meant to be." Backstage, Nadine checked her veil. Dark lace cascading like midnight rain. Kimura adjusted a stray bead. "Ready." Nadine inhaled. "Ready to bury what hurts." Kimura pressed a quick kiss to her cheek. "Then let's make Heartbreak history." Cue lights. The ballroom doors swung open. Nadine stepped through, gown sweeping, veil trailing. Conversations dwindled to a hush. She felt every eye track her path. The jilted bride turned mistress of ceremonies. At the coffin, she paused, laid a hand on its varnished edge, then ascended the stage. She looked out, her mother's horrified face, her father's steady gaze, friends caught between laughter and tears. Each expression is a chapter in the saga of human reactions to pain. The microphone hummed under her fingertip. She cleared her throat, let silence thicken, then spoke. "We are gathered here today," she began, voice clear, "not to mourn a man, but a mess." Laughter bubbled, uneasy, grateful. Nadine smiled, a slow uptilt of lips that promised this would be equal parts comedy and confession. She continued, words rolling steadily, anecdotes of red flags dressed as roses, of ring shopping while he scrolled through dating apps, of dreams sold retail and returned damaged. Guests laughed, winced, nodded, each joke a truth thinly veiled. Mid-speech, her tone softened. She removed the dark veil, letting it fall like shed skin. "I loved someone who didn't love me enough to face me," she said, voice trembling but intact. "So I faced myself." No one moved. Even the candles seemed to hold their breath. "I stand here not because I won, but because I survived," she said. "And survival deserves ceremony." She lifted her grandfather's poem, reading the final lines. "Let grief rest in its box of bones. Let the living refuse its chains. She folded the paper, placed it atop the coffin, and stepped back. 4-2 heartbeats, silence reigned, as vast as cathedral space. Then applause rose, slow, swelling into a standing ovation that rattled candelabras. Yet when clapping stopped, no one rushed to leave. They remained seated, absorbing the strange comfort of shared catharsis. Nadine bowed her head, a queen acknowledging her court of broken, beautiful humans. Inside her chest, something unclenched. Not joy exactly, but air, clean, breathable. Kimura joined her on stage, slipping an arm around her waist. Together they faced the guests, the coffin, the fog swirling like the last sigh of a buried past. Outside the ballroom doors, Saturday night traffic kept moving, oblivious. Inside, Nadine Amodi had written a new definition of happily ever after. Happiness may go, but dignity can still dance. And somewhere miles away, Eli's phone buzzed non-stop with tagged videos of a funeral he'd never been brave enough to attend. Sunday dawned hushed, like the city itself was tiptoeing around Nadine's bruised heartbeat. She woke on the sofa, still in her black gown, corset half unlaced, mascara smudged into abstract art beneath her eyes. An empty champagne flute balanced on the coffee table edge. The room smelled of candle wax and caffeine that never made it to a boil. Her phone lay face down on the floor, buzzing like an anxious bee. She flipped it over, expecting the usual after-midnight spam, and found a swarm instead. 68 new notifications. 324 new messages. 198 new likes. For a breath, she couldn't move. Then the top banner slid down, Kimura's name and a burst of screaming laughing emojis. Grr, you're on the internet's front page. Beneath it, a link to Love's funeral, full speech. The thumbnail was Nadine at the podium, veil tossed back, candles flickering like halo flames. Someone had uploaded the entire 12-minute oration to TikTok, chopped into neat parts, captions timed to every laugh line and gut punch. Nadine clicked, volume low. There she was on screen, voice steady, eyes bright and wounded. She watched herself say, "We are gathered here today not to mourn a man, but a mess," and heard an audience half virtual, half memory roar again. A soft ache fluttered in her chest, equal parts pride and grief. By the time the video ended, her view count had jumped another 1,000. 1. The comments section. Curiosity dragged her into an endless scroll. Stranger after stranger left digital roses. At Ocean Eyes 90, this woman turned heartbreak into history. Crown. At Empty Holden, emotional funerals need to be a thing. Reclaim your dignity, people. At Quiet Dad 42, as a single father of 2 daughters, I hope they have her courage. At Tina Broke But Healing, I divorced last year in silence. Tonight I'm writing my own eulogy. Some comments were jokes, memes of a coffin wearing a tux, gifs of Meryl Streep clapping. But most were raw confessions, stories of cheating spouses, fiancé disappearances, friendships that died slowly and publicly. Nadine inhaled each one like proof that pain, when spoken aloud, could braid strangers together. A DM pinged. Podcast inquiry. The rebirth sessions. Another. Morning show wants you live tomorrow. And another. Streaming platform developing emotional funerals mini doc. Interested? Her apartment seemed to tilt. She pressed the heel of her hand to her forehead, grounding herself. Seconds later, a local newspaper reporter called. Nadine Amodi? This is Agnes from the Sun Ledger. First, your speech was breathtaking. May I have 10 minutes for a feature? Nadine's voice felt thin in her throat. Can we rain check till noon? I need coffee and maybe a new personality. The reporter laughed. Understandable. I'll text you questions. Nadine hung up, staring at the black dress draped over the sofa arm like a sleeping dragon. She whispered, "What did we just start?" By afternoon, she finally showered, swapped black satin for jeans and a mustard sweater, and let herself out into bright Sunday light. The sky was unreasonably blue, as though someone had dialed saturation to mock her gothic aesthetic. She walked south on Harbour Street toward the farmer's market, craving oranges and anonymity. The city buzzed, vendors calling prices, children dragging helium balloons shaped like cartoon ghosts. At a coffee cart, she ordered an oat milk latte. The barista handed it over, then paused, eyes widening. "Wait, you're the Nadine, right? Funeral wedding girl." Heat rushed to Nadine's cheeks. Yeah, that's me." The barista's grin bloomed. "Your speech made my mom cry. She left my dad last year. Cheated on her. She's printing your quote about survival and ceremony." "Thank you." Nadine's shame receded under a warm tide. "Tell your mom she's braver than she knows." The barista nodded, eyes glassy. Nadine slipped away, coffee steaming between her palms, heart thudding with an unfamiliar rhythm. Respect meeting vulnerability in the middle of a sidewalk. But fame's spotlight flickered. Each block brought new glances, whispers, sometimes a phone angled her way. She could almost taste their questions. Does it still hurt? Are you mad or liberated? She wanted to answer both. At a crosswalk, a teenage girl in oversized headphones motioned for a selfie. Nadine obliged, smiling stiffly. The girl hugged her afterwards, murmuring, "We needed someone to go first." Go first. The phrase lingered even as traffic surged and horns blared. She realized she was now something bigger than bride or victim. She'd become precedent. Monday morning, Kimura ushered Nadine into the regional TV studio, armed with a quick YouTube makeup tutorial and a pep talk. "Remember," she said, adjusting Nadine's blazer collar, "they want the story, but you own it. Boundaries, babe." Studio lights baked her skin. A host in lilac pressed two palms over Nadine's hands. "Love your energy," she chirped. Off camera, the producer counted down. The red light blinked on. "Inspirational, empowering. Those are the words viewers keep using," the host began. "Nadine, did you ever imagine Saturday night would spark a cultural moment?" Nadine drew a breath. Cameras made her heart gallop, but honesty slowed the pulse. "I didn't plan to inspire anyone. I was surviving." Turns out survival speaks louder than perfection. The host nodded sagely. Social media is calling this the dawn of emotional funerals, rituals to reclaim dignity after heartbreak. Thoughts? "I think grief demands ritual," Nadine said. "We already throw bridal showers, baby showers, housewarmings, milestones of joy. But when love dies, we're told to move on quietly. I refused to be quiet." Kimura, offset, gave a tiny fist pump. "Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button." During the commercial break, a production assistant whispered that viewer lines were flooding with callers wanting to share their own heartbreak funerals. Nadine sipped water, mind spinning. Grief had gone prime time. That night her Gmail filled like a burst pipe. Publishers, event planners, mental health non-profits. She tried to answer personal notes first. A widow remembering her husband with laughter, a man leaving a toxic partner, a mother apologizing to the daughter she'd pressured into marriage. Each story dripped into her like dye in water, coloring her gratitude deep indigo. Then a name flashed, Rachel Okafor, Eli's rumored new girlfriend. Stark letters in her DMs. "Hi Nadine. I saw the video. I didn't know he was still engaged. I ended it. I'm so sorry for being part of your pain. If you need any answers, I'll tell you the truth." Nadine's stomach knotted. She stared at the blinking cursor, thumb hovering. Finally, she typed, "Thank you for telling me. Healing now. Answers can wait. Be gentle with yourself." She hit send, exhaled, and let the conversation float away into digital ether. Some truths, she decided, could rest in peace with the relationship. Fame didn't inoculate against memory. At 3 a.m. Tuesday, Nadine bolted upright in bed, lungs gasping. In her dream, the ballroom lights had died, and Eli walked toward her in the dark, mouth sewn shut. She reached for him and felt only the fabric of her own veil. She padded to the kitchen, poured water, and leaned against the counter while the hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. "It still hurts," she admitted to no one. But the pain felt different now, less like a knife, more like a scar beneath new skin. She thought of the applause, the strangers' stories, and the barista's mother. A choir of unknown hearts had echoed her own. The loneliness was thinning. She whispered into the dim. It was never about revenge. It was about goodbye. The words settled on the tiles, warm as a blanket. She carried the glass back to bed, lay under soft lamplight, and scrolled her mentions until sleep slipped over her again, dreamless this time. By Wednesday, offers multiplied, speaking engagements at women's conferences, a pay-to-publish imprint promising bestseller status, a reality show casting agent pitching weddings gone wrong. Nadine created a spreadsheet, color-coded green for authentic, orange for maybe, red for exploitative. Most columns glowed traffic light red. Among the flood stood one email from Afoni Cole, producer of the award-winning mental health podcast Soft Landings. Your ritual reframed grief for thousands. We do long-form conversations. No sensationalism. Would you share the story behind the speech? She listened to an episode featuring a burnout survivor chef. The tone was gentle, free of clickbait. Nadine clicked reply, fingers steady. Yes. But only if we talk about healing, not headlines. Cole responded within minutes. And the call was scheduled for Friday. Progress felt like a deep exhale. Thursday afternoon, Nadine found herself downtown, past mirrored buildings reflecting clouds like borrowed perfection. She stopped at a corner where a massive digital billboard replayed her on stage still. Black gown against candlelight, subtitle, Survival Deserves Ceremony. A clothing brand had licensed the clip for an empowerment campaign. She hadn't even signed contracts yet. The sight should have thrilled her. Instead, it pinched. She pressed a hand to the glass facade of a shop window, staring at a smaller reflection layered over the billboard version. Two Nadines, one mythic, one mortal. A man exiting the shop paused. "You're her, right? The brave bride." She managed a polite smile. "That's me." He lifted his coffee cup in salute. "Thank you for reminding us that dignity doesn't need permission." When he left, she closed her eyes. The wind whipped her curls. Traffic drummed. She pictured herself 1 week earlier, collapsing in the tasting room, hand trembling over a phone screen. The distance between those two women felt both inches and galaxies. She opened her eyes, caught her reflection again, and this time nodded at it. "Keep walking." That night, Chief Amadi grilled plantains on the balcony while city lights blinked like Morse code. Nadine watched him flip each slice, steam rising. "People keep calling," she said, "offering money for my pain. It feels sticky." Her father tossed a plantain onto her plate. "Fame is a river. Drink, bathe, or drown." He shrugged. "Your choice." She laughed softly. "When did you become a philosopher?" He poured palm wine into 2 wooden cups. "When my daughter buried Heartbreak like royalty." They clinked cups. Warm sweetness washed over her tongue. She studied her father's lined face, thinking how love, unromantic, steadfast, was a kind of raft. "Do you miss Mom's approval?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "Not the way I used to. I think she misses who she wanted me to be." He nodded, sliding the last plantain to her. "Let people miss what never existed. You stay real." Friday, in a sunlit studio lined with succulents, Nadine sat across from Afoni Cole. A single microphone between them, soft foam walls, drinking every echo. Cole pressed record. "Nadine, take us to the minute before you decided on a funeral." She closed her eyes, saw the ballroom again. Empty chairs, gold drapes, possibility rotting. Words split. The hotel's refusal, the contract's chokehold, a moment of rage crystallizing into clarity. She spoke of screaming silence, of rewriting a narrative mid-sentence. She read a stanza of her grandfather's poem into the mic. Cole's eyes misted. They talked for an hour. Afterwards, Cole pressed stop, leaned back. That wasn't an interview. That was an altar. Nadine smiled, cheeks wet. An altar to goodbye. Saturday evening marked exactly 7 days since the would-have-been wedding. Nadine dressed in linen pants and walked alone to the riverside park. Couples strolled, kids chased pigeons, and street musicians played gentle highlife. She settled on a bench overlooking water that caught the sunset like molten copper. Her phone vibrated, a notification from Soft Landings. New episode, funeral for a relationship. She hesitated, then pressed play. Her own voice drifted out, softer than she remembered. Passers-by barely noticed the woman on the bench listening to herself say, "It was never about revenge. It was about goodbye." She breathed the river air, scented with damp earth and roasted corn from a nearby vendor. A jogger slowed. "Excuse me, are you Nadine? I loved your podcast episode." She nodded. The jogger didn't ask for a photo, only offered a fist bump. Nadine bumped back, small grin. When she was alone again, she whispered to the rippling water, letting each word sink like pebbles. Grief spoke. Dignity answered. She leaned against the bench, eyes following a boat's lazy wake, and noticed the absence of tightness in her chest. The hurt was still there, an old bruise under new skin, but it no longer dictated the rhythm of her breathing. A soft breeze lifted her curls, carrying laughter from a nearby picnic. She closed her eyes, tasting plantain memory, candle smoke, and river mist. Life, in all its mess and music, continued, and so would she. As twilight settled, she rose, tucked her phone in her pocket, and walked home. No camera lights followed, no whispers trailed. Just the steady sound of her own footsteps, calm, certain, free, guiding her toward whatever chapter waited beyond the ashes. The first sound on Saturday morning was cardboard sliding across hardwood. Nadine crouched beside a stack of moving boxes, breath fogging the cool apartment air. The place smelled of packing tape and dust, the scent of endings disguised as logistics. Sunlight snuck in through curtains she had already taken down, painting pale stripes across the floorboards. She labeled a box photos plus memories as if grouping emotion could tame it. Inside went framed engagement shots, the yes. Polaroid camera had snapped the moment Eli proposed, and the hand-painted save the date sign she'd once thought clever. Each item landed with a soft thud that felt louder than any argument she and Eli ever had. A gentle knock. Her father, Chief Amadi, stepped in wearing faded jeans, a t-shirt that read "Fix it, don't toss it," and work gloves tucked into his belt. He surveyed the sea of half-packed boxes and offered a small nod, the kind that meant "I'm here." Nadine's shoulders dropped. "You don't have to. I know." He picked up a stack of flattened cartons. "I want to." They worked in unspoken rhythm. He disassembled the bed frame. She slid books into crates. Lamps, linens, half-used candles, everything found a box. When they reached the hall closet, Nadine gestured for her father to wait. Hidden on the top shelf was a garment bag, the ivory wedding dress that never saw daylight. She hesitated, fingers brushing the zipper. The satin felt cold through the plastic, like preserved snow. Chief Amadi's voice floated over her shoulder. "Keep it if you need to. Toss it if you don't." "I'm not sure yet," she whispered. He squeezed her arm, then carried 2 boxes toward the front door. Through the hallway, she heard the screech of hinges as he propped the building's dumpster open. A flock of startled pigeons scattered, wings flapping like applause for letting go. Mid-afternoon, Nadine tackled the last relic, a ribbon-tied hat box labeled important in her own tidy handwriting. Inside lay a reception table number, extra wax seals, and a bundle of stationery wrapped in silver twine. She untied it carefully. On top was a letter, her handwriting, flowing and deliberate. "Eli," it began, "I'm writing this now because I might stumble at the altar." She froze, eyes skimming sentences no one had ever read. It spoke of fears she'd buried beneath optimism. "If you ever doubt me, tell me." If you ever doubt us, let's fight for us. The words pulsed with innocence, every line a plea she never voiced aloud. Nadine exhaled shakily. She slipped the letter into her back pocket without reading more. Evenings settled with a hush. The boxes were taped, labeled, and stacked like a cardboard skyline by the door. In the communal courtyard behind the building sat a rusting metal fire pit that tenants used for barbecues and holiday sparkler nights. Nadine and her father carried several small bundles outside. The letter, extra invitations, vow drafts, the ivory garter Susan had insisted she wear for tradition. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. The courtyard smelled of jasmine vines and distant car exhaust. Nadine knelt, fed dry twigs into the pit, and lit them. Flames trembled, then rose like newborn courage. A slow smile, unforced, unfought, curved her lips. She whispered, barely louder than breath, the words she'd earned through ash and applause, policy and poetry, endings and elevators. This time, I'm the one choosing me. Hey lovelies, thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you felt something, learned something, or just enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. See you next time, bye.